These are the notes for section 5 on inheritance hierarchies. And we're focusing on the is-a relationship here, where S is a subclass of T. T is the superclass. It says that we can assign an object of type S to a reference of type T, and that facilitates what we call polymorphism. And so that's really the main idea of section 5 is, what kind of like what can we do? We're going to get into the implications of it in the next section. But right here is where I start creating some objects, and we're going to see some polymorphism type behavior. And so this is the first one that would qualify. I've created an object here of a subclass type. It's a book. Okay, if you remember from our hierarchy earlier, book is a item for sale. It's a subclass of item for sale. So I've created a book, okay, and I've assigned it to a declared type variable of item for sale. We've never really seen anything like that before. Normally, if I was going to build a book reference, I'd hold it inside of a book variable. Going all the way back to chapter 2, that's how we've handled things. But polymorphism in Java allows us to actually have a declared superclass type and let it hold on to a subclass type. That's legal. So you can see, like, right now I'm running my code. I'm not getting any error messages. Everything's good. Okay. But if I tried the reverse of that, if I said, oh, okay, I'm going to declare a poster to be a book, and then I'm going to let it hold on to an item for sale, that would be an error. So can't legally do that in Java. Okay, but you can have a superclass declared type hold on to a subclass actual object type. Okay, so like if you look at my movies here, I've created 2 movies. I could take either of these and change it to say item for sale, and that would be okay because movies are another type of item for sale. So if you go back to our hierarchy that we had created earlier this chapter, a movie is a item for sale. It's extending the item for sale class. So again, I could run this code and everything would be happy. Um, Authors are not items for sale. This is illustrating the has-a relationship in Java. So we have here our author class. It's not extending any class directly, so implicitly it goes to the object. But books have an author. Okay, so that's illustrating the has-a relationship. That's a different type of hierarchy. I can't say that this author is an item for sale, okay, because it's not. It doesn't extend from that class. Books do, movies do, authors do not. Okay, so that's going to result in an error message. That's not a superclass subclass situation. Why would we want to do this? Okay, like, well, here's a little bit of a reason, right? So um, it's useful when we start passing around method parameters, and it's also useful in the facilitation of our data structures. So arrays, one-dimensional, two-dimensional, and array list. By using a broader type, it gives us more options, more freedom to write code, and you don't have to worry about as many specifics. So I've said if you'd like to see some examples, go look at the store class and look at my note A and my note B. In store, we have a has-a relationship. So a store has an array list of items for sale. Okay, that's not an is-a relationship. A store is not an item for sale. A store has items for sale. So here I am using a broader scale parameter, item for sale, and that's going to allow me to facilitate the ability to transfer object references around more freely. Here's what I mean by that. I'm calling this method add item from the main. Okay, so I've created a store, called it BB, and I've started to send items into that parameter. Okay, the items that I'm sending are not all items for sale. Some of them are, right? Like poster and lightning thief, but I've also got a book in there. Okay, I've got a movie. And also remember, we have some of our items for sale are actually referring to books and to movies. And I've taken all 5 of those references and I've handed them off to this method as a parameter. And it's all legal. Like, we can do all of this. Java is totally fine with it, even though that method is saying that it wants from me an item for sale. I can actually give it a book. I can give it a movie. And that kind of illustrates that is a relationship. A book is an item for sale. So it's asking for an item for sale and I'm giving it one, a little bit indirectly, Okay, but it is an item for sale. If this had said book, I'd have a whole bunch of errors. I couldn't give it a movie now. Movie is not a book. So if I said, this method can only take books, well, now I'm going to get a bunch of error messages. It's not going to work with those items that I'm passing it. But if I say it's an item for sale, I can give it any item for sale, like I was doing. Okay. Um, if you don't want, imagine the store has 200 different types of items for sale. They'd have to create 200 different methods, one for each, if polymorphism didn't exist in Java. And the same thing would happen with their data structure. Okay? They'd have to create a separate array list for every single type of item for sale, one for books, one for movies, one for magazines, whatever. But by keeping it at the superclass type, they can hold all of the subclass types in there and still transfer them around. When they go there, they are going to be assigned to a variable declared type as item for sale. And there are some implications to that, and we're going to get to that in the next section. Okay, but right here, if I change this to say book, again, I'd run into a whole bunch of issues. Okay, by keeping it at a more generic type, like item for sale to superclass, it gives me a little bit more freedom.